أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما قدر الله حق قدره إذ قالوا ما أنزل الله على بشر من شيء. قل من أنزل الكتاب الذي جاء به موسى نورا وهدى للناس تجعلونه قراطيس تبدونها وتخفون كثيرا وعلمتم ما لم تعلموا أنتم ولا آباؤكم قل الله ثم ذرهم في خوضهم يلعبون. وهذا كتاب أنزلناه مبارك مصدق الذي بين يديه ولتنذر أم القرى ومن حولها والذين يؤمنون بالآخرة يؤمنون به وهم على صلاتهم يحافظون. ومن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا أو قال أوحي إلي ولم يوحى إليه شيء. ومن قال سأنزل مثل ما أنزل الله. ولو ترى إذ الظالمون في غمرات الموت والملائكة باسطوا أيديهم أخرجوا أنفسكم اليوم تجزون عذاب الهون بما كنتم تقولون على الله غير الحق وكنتم عن آياته تستكبرون. ولقد جئتمونا فرادا كما خلقناكم أول مرة وتركتم ما خولناكم وراء ظهوركم وما نرى معكم شفعاءكم الذين زعمتم أنهم فيكم شركاء لقد تقطع بينكم وضل عنكم ما كنتم تزعمون. إن الله فالق الحب والنوى يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ذلكم الله فأنا تؤفكون. فالق الإصباح وجعل الليل سكنا والشمس والقمر حسبانا ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. صدق الله العظيم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. MashaAllah, such a beautiful recitation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all the families of these youngsters who are reciting Quran, MashaAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow all of us to be good parents to teach our children the Quran and the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to another story of the Quran. Inshallah ta'ala, what we're going to go over today is perhaps my favorite story in the Quran, and perhaps it is the favorite story of a lot of people. It is the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Before I share my screen, inshallah, if you can able to grab a mushaf because obviously we don't have time to go through every single verse. So I'm going to be skimming through a lot of the verses. So if you can grab a mushaf, please do grab a mushaf and keep it with you, inshallah ta'ala. And I'll try to call the some of the verse numbers, inshallah, as we go through the surah. Also, don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, share the link, inshallah. Maybe others can join and can benefit, inshallah ta'ala, as we go through this beautiful surah. Okay, Bismillah. Let me share. All right. So we'll get right into the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts the surah by talking to our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And we have to acknowledge that fact because it's very important for us to see the connection between our Prophet Muhammad and Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts the verse, starts the surah by saying in verse number 3, نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله لمن الغافلين. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells our Prophet that we are going to reveal to you the best of stories. The best of stories because it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best of story because the receiver is the Prophet sallallahu. The best of story because it's narrated by Allah. The best of story because perhaps Yusuf alayhi salam is a beautiful prophet. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that his story is also the best of stories. The best of the story because of the lessons. That's the most important part. The lessons that you get out of these stories are amazing, which we'll go over inshallah ta'ala together. And the best of the story because it's a true story. It's not a fairy tale, it's not a superhero, it's not Avengers, right? This is an actual story. Everything that Allah tells us in this surah actually happened. So the lessons will be much stronger because the stories took place. Right? So keep this in mind, inshallah ta'ala. And Allah tells our Prophet ﷺ that this is from what we reveal to you from the Quran. وَإِن كُنْتَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ لَمِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. And before that, you were not aware of that story. So you were not aware of the lessons of the story, which is teaching the Prophet ﷺ that go into the narrative with a learning mind. Go into the narrative with somebody who wants to learn, who wants to seek guidance. And this was told to the Messenger ﷺ, who received revelation, who receives direct messages from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now imagine for us, right? As we read Surah Yusuf, we have to be able to rewire our brains to be ready for learning, to be ready for guidance, to be ready for a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if we read it just like any other story for entertainment purposes, we might not be able to get the most out of it. Or we're going to end up saying, I don't know if I agree with this. I don't know if I agree with that. And it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's talking to us. So go into the story with a learning mind. So inshallah, you're able to benefit from all this, inshallah ta'ala. So the story starts with a dream, right? SubhanAllah, the slides are a little off. They did not look like that on my on my laptop, but alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kicking off the story, this narrative, by a dream that Yusuf alayhi salam saw, right? And scholars say Yusuf was around 11. Some scholars said he was 9. Some said he was 7. But he was a young child, right? He's a little boy. He saw this dream. He goes to his dad and he tells his dad a dream. The dream essentially is that he saw 11 stars and he saw the sun and the moon prostrating to him, right? And then his father gives him some advice. But there's a couple of things to learn, right? And you guys will see that the different events that I'm going to go through, we're going to go through them as as a whole. We're not going to go into the details of the story, obviously, so we are able to go through the whole surah. But one thing to keep in mind is that Yusuf alayhi salam story, his story starts with hope, starts with optimism, with positivity. Because dreams symbolize that. Dreams symbolize ambition, hope, that things will be better, right? And this is very important because the Prophet ﷺ, our Prophet, when he was receiving this story, what was his state? This was around the time when his wife died, his uncle died. He didn't have a big backup in Mecca. So you can say that the Prophet ﷺ was feeling a little bit of a little down. He's a little concerned about the state of the ummah. He wants some hope. He wants some positive energy in his life. So Allah is kicking off this story with a very high note. with a very high energetic note, which is there is a dream. And this dream is Yusuf alayhi salam becoming an incredible man, becoming someone of value, someone is virtue, even to be greater than his own father, who's also a prophet. So that's number one, to remember the symbol behind that dream. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is highlighting the relationship between Yaqub and Yusuf, which is extremely important. When you read their narrative of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, Yusuf and Yaqub's relationship is very, very essential. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is letting us know that any difficulty you go through in your life, you're going to need somebody to support you. You're going to need somebody to be there for you. You're going to need somebody to give you advice, right? And that somebody throughout the story is going to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's number one. But also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you're going to have a family member, which is Yusuf and Yaqub. Now you might say, but wait a minute. Yaqub was not with Yusuf for the majority of the story. But the advice that Yaqub alayhi salam tells Yusuf is phenomenal, which keeps him going the entire journey, even though his dad was not around. So anybody who listens to this, understand that the advice you get from your parents is very important, and you never let go of their advice, right? And the advice is preparation for Yusuf alayhi salam. Yaqub is preparing his son. When he told him the dream, he told him, don't tell your brothers, because your brothers might feel some sort of a way, and shaitan is going to cause problems between you. And then he explained to him, Yaqub explained to Yusuf, and this is the verse number 6. Yaqub says, وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ رَبُّكَ. And just like that, your Lord will choose you, will pick you, will honor you. وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. And he will teach you from the narration of the ahadith, the stories, the dreams, knowledge. You're going to have knowledge. وَيُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكَ. And he is going to complete your blessing upon you, which is referring to prophethood. Yaqub is telling Yusuf indirectly that you are going to be a prophet. Because remember, dreams are a sign of prophecy. And our Prophet ﷺ, he used to receive dreams, how long? For 6 months before he received actual revelation, he would get a lot of dreams. So the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam is being told by his father, this dream is a sign that you will be a prophet, right? And Allah says you're going to be just like Yaqub and just like your father Ibrahim and Ishaq. So Allah, Yaqub alayhi salam is saying to Yusuf is that you are going to be just like your grandparents. You're going to continue that legacy of prophethood, right? Which is again connecting him to a very high note. Because remember, from this point on, things get really dark for Yusuf alayhi salam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that he was prepared. And then the most important thing, and we're going to see this over and over again, Yaqub alayhi salam is teaching Yusuf, know 2 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna rabbaka alimun hakim. Know for sure that your Lord, the one who takes care of you, he is all knowledgeable and he's all wise. Nothing that is going to happen to Yusuf out of the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nothing out of the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's a beautiful lesson, brothers and sisters. Everything that happens to us is under the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing just happens Allah is not aware of. Nothing happens that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thought it would go this way, but he changed it. No, none of this. Allah knows what's going on. Allah knows everything subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he's telling Yusuf alayhi salam, through that story is be prepared and always keep Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your mind, because Allah is watching and he knows what you're going through, and it's all for a reason, because there's wisdom behind it. Yusuf alayhi salam, right after that, his brothers plot against him, right? By the way, that picture on the right side, some people claim that this is actually the well where Yusuf was thrown in, right? So now we're looking at around verse number 8 or so, when his brothers throw him in the well. This is the picture of it. Actually, this is what people claim. It's not the picture of it. I just put it out there just to tell people that don't listen to a lot of these pictures, right? We have no idea. There's no evidence whatsoever, not even historically, that we know where that well was. And this was thousands of years ago, so there's no way it's still around unless it was somehow preserved. But anyway, I just wanted to put it out there. It's not the real picture. This is not the real picture of the well. Anyway, so there's a couple of things. You see, one of the points we learned from the rivalry between the siblings, which is Yusuf, Binyamin, and the other 10, is that the other 10 wanted something that is honorable. They wanted the love of their father. But brothers and sisters, understand something. The end never, never, ever, ever justify the means. Just because you want something that is honorable, it doesn't mean you can get to it through bad ways. Yani the brothers of Yusuf wanted the love of their father. Is it bad to want the love of your father? Absolutely not. But in that process, they wanted to kill their brother. And that is not okay. That is not okay under any circumstance. The means and the end are both important in our religion. In Islam, they are both are important. And this goes as a general rule to everything you do in your life, right? If you want to get married, you can only get married through the halal way. If you're going to get married through the haram way, it's not going to be blessed, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask you about it. Again, the end never justifies the wrong means. Second thing to remember in that story or in that part of the story is when somebody sins, it leads them to sinning more. Yani the brothers of Yusuf went, they had to lie to their father. They took Yusuf with them. They ended up killing. They wanted to kill him, but instead they threw him in the well. They went back to their father, and their father was like, "What happened to Yusuf?" So they had to lie to him. So their plan was that they're gonna hurt Yusuf. So they hurt Yusuf, okay, but they lied to their father. They made their father very upset. They made their father very sad. So all these are sins, right? A sin would lead to more sin, and that's why we have to be careful that when we are sinning, we have to stop sinning, right? We have to take a pause and ask ourselves, is this what I should be doing? Sins always lead to more sins. Number three, parents, and wallahi, brothers and sisters, this doesn't matter how young or how old you are, parents know you very well. If you lie to your parents about something, they know you're lying to them. Even if you're 50, even if you have grandchildren, your parents know what's up. And just take this as a general rule. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how old you get, it doesn't matter you have all the knowledge in the world. Parents know their kids very well. When Yaqub alayhi salam, when his kids went to him and he said that he was eaten by a wolf, he knew they were lying very much, right? And that's why what he teaches us, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. Now, patience, a beautiful patience. This is one of the places that beautiful patience started in the surah, and it's the first place in that surah. Ar-Sabrul Jameel is for you to be internally content with whatever is happening and don't verbalize anything that is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what you can do is complain to Allah, right? That is what Sabr Jameel is. Now, one of the reasons this is highlighted here is to tell you that Yaqub knew that Yusuf was still alive, he just didn't know what it was. So he needed a lot of patience, right? He needed a lot of patience for him to know where is Yusuf? Is he okay? Is he sick? Is he not sick? Is he safe? Like what is going on with Yusuf alayhi salam? Yaqub had no idea. And this is what beautiful patience is. And he says, Wallahu al-musta'anu ala ma tasifun. Allah is the one that we seek for help. Because in your difficulties, nobody can help you more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can talk to your parents, you can talk to your spouse, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your siblings, your cousin, you can talk to anybody you want. But nobody will be able to help you as much as as much as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Yusuf from there, man, these slides are way off. I apologize. I'll try to fix it during the break. One of the things that happens to Yusuf, and before I get this to the story, so Yusuf alayhi salam gets picked up by a group of merchants, right? And when they pick him up, they take him as a slave, right? And then they take him to Egypt, and then in Egypt he gets sold to the king, to the house of the king, right? He gets sold to the house of the king or the finance minister, whatever. Al-Aziz can be interpreted differently, but essentially he moves from the well where he was about to die to live in perhaps the highest place on earth when it comes to um, when it comes to honor and money and leadership and so on and so forth. But something very interesting happens to him, what is the seduction of the wife of the Aziz. And we'll talk about this inshallah. There's just a short ad and then we'll come back and continue our story inshallah ta'ala.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his beloved book, and hold fast all together to the rope of Allah, and be not divided among yourselves. Ramadan is a month of worship, a month of growth, and a month where we all come together as a community. During this uncertain and stressful time, our centers may be empty, but our hearts are full. We are still connected as a community through our memories, our prayers, and our bond as brothers and sisters. This Ramadan, while we worship at home, let us continue to support the growth of our community center, MCMC. Now, more than ever, our institution needs us. It is time to come together. Support your masjid. Donate today.
Social distancing will change significantly how Muslims observe the holy month. Shut down mosques mean the faithful will no longer be able to gather together to engage in nightly prayer and to break fast at sunset. Those that rely on the food they receive at the mosque to break fast will also suffer.
Heading into work today.
And it just hit me. I miss you. MCMC to me has always been my home away from home. It's the place where my love of Islam grew. It's the place that when I was at Rutgers and there was stress of work and stress of school, I could always rely on MCMC to be that place to give me a sense of peace, a sense of sukoon. And so with Ramadan coming in just a few days, it's hitting me that I miss my community more than ever. The iftars, the tarawih, the jummas, the lectures. Ramadan is a reminder of what community means, and MCMC has been the setting of that for so many reasons. So I was thinking, why shouldn't that still be the case? Why can't we make this the best Ramadan yet? Go to mcmcnj.org to learn how we'll do it. Every day, a reminder of what we stand for and an adhan to break our fast with, live on YouTube and Facebook. This Ramadan, let's have iftar together.
Here we are back. Right, let me share. I was able to fix it a little bit. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed that little ad. So Yusuf alayhi salam gets taken to the house of the king or the house of the Aziz, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is transitioning to another part of Yusuf's life. He says, وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ Yusuf, when he reached his ashud, means his prime time. When he reached his prime time, آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا we gave him good judgment, good wisdom, and good knowledge. He gave him wisdom and knowledge. You guys remember what the Prophet, what Yaqub alayhi salam told his son in the beginning of the story. He says, know that Allah has knowledge and Allah has wisdom. And here, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we gave Yusuf knowledge and wisdom. وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and this is how we reward those who have excellence, who have ihsan. Now what happens to Yusuf? A couple of things. Yusuf grew up in the house of the king. Now, the king's wife saw Yusuf grow up. Okay, we know from a hadith of the Prophet that Yusuf is extremely handsome. He's just a good-looking man, beyond anybody's imagination. Some narrations mention that he was half of beauty, right? So he was very, very handsome. In addition to that, it's his prime time, so he's young. In addition to that, he's a smart man with knowledge and with wisdom. So he has all the qualities that attracts any woman to him. Now, why did the scholars said, why is it the wife of the Aziz? She was already married and she's married to a king. Well, some of the historians, they mentioned, this is really interesting. They mentioned that Yusuf alayhi salam, or the king, at his time, a lot of people in that leadership positions, they used to marry very young girls. Okay, king could be 40, 50 years old, and he will marry a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old, right? And again, as a king, it's not a big deal, right? A lot of people will give up their girls to go marry a king. So a lot of times, historically, it's been known that there will be a gap. And subhanAllah, even today, by the way, right? Even today, you see in some countries, right? Muslims and non-Muslims, by the way, this is not just like a Muslim thing. In so many countries, people of money, right? People of leadership and status, a lot of times there's a huge gap between the guy and the girl. So it is very normal that she, as a wife, she wants somebody like her age, somebody who's handsome and smart and playful. So she got attracted to Yusuf, even though he grew up in her house, but it's not her son, right? But Yusuf alayhi salam, he was, she planned, again, she planned something very, very, well planned, right? She closed the door, she prepared herself, she kind of showed up to Yusuf alayhi salam, and she told him, hey, talak, she was like, let's do it, right? And you guys can imagine how the scene looks like. He's a young man, he's single, he doesn't know anybody, so there's no worry for him about his reputation. Nobody even knows where he comes from, okay? The doors are closed. It is the woman who's coming to him, so there's no way she's going to go and tell anybody if he were to do anything, right? As a slave or as somebody that raised you or took care of you, you would think that like you're submissive. You're submissive to her. There is so many things that could have made Yusuf do all whatever she wanted him to do, but he resisted, and he said no. But why did he say no? He says, قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَايَ. Right? He says, I will never do this. I seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And then I'm trying to find the verse for you guys. It's verse number 23. If anybody wants to go back and reference it, verse number 23 of Surah Yusuf. Right? He says, I seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says something so profound, and I want you guys to pay attention to this. He says, Innahu Rabbi ahsana mathwaya. Allah, my Lord, has taken care of me. At least that's one of the interpretations. He says, my Lord has taken care of me. Allah took care of me. Right? Allah saved me from the well. I could have died. Allah saved me from slavery. I could have been with any other slave, but rather I was raised in a really good household. Allah took care of me. How can I disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is fascinating. It wasn't the fear of punishment, right, that Allah mentioned. What stopped him was he was grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes, brothers and sisters, we need to remember the blessings of Allah that will stop us from making any disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, he ends up running towards the door, and when he runs toward the door, she goes after him. He opens the door. He sees the husband of the wife right outside the door. His shirt is ripped, and immediately she blames Yusuf, right? She accuses Yusuf of doing something with her. And obviously Yusuf defends himself. He's like, I didn't do any of this, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that now he sends his support, because Yusuf turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that difficulty. He says, Ya Allah, I seek refuge with you. Don't leave me alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses Yusuf by letting one of the people who were related to the woman, right, be a witness. وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. Right? Remember, Yusuf doesn't have any family. The witness was from the family of the wife, from the family of the woman. Right? And you would think if from her family, it would be on her side, right? Because obviously, families take care of each other, they got each other's back and all that stuff. But no, he actually testified for Yusuf alayhi salam. And he told him if his shirt was ripped from the front, that means this happening. It's from the back, that means her fault, his fault, all that. At the end of the day, Yusuf became innocent. And then the king says, okay, don't tell anybody, let's just all hush hush about this and move on with our lives. Now, does she leave him alone? Absolutely not. Right? Because tests of this world never end, man. You get tested, you take a break, you get tested again. This is just the reality of this world. And that's what Allah is teaching us. I always say this when I used to teach Surah Yusuf, the story of Yusuf is a story of life. It's a story of how to live life. How to deal with life's difficulties. We all have difficulties. We all have calamities. We all have tests. But that's just the reality of it. Yusuf alayhi salam gets out of one test, and that test amplifies. She ends up actually gathering all the women in her house, okay? And now, instead of one woman seducing, seducting Yusuf, it's all the women. It's all the women. They're, showing off themselves to Yusuf alayhi salam. And now it's even more difficult, right? Because if he can resist one, it's going to be very difficult for him to resist others. And then the woman tells Yusuf, if you're not going to do anything, I'm going to put you in prison. I'm going to put you in prison. Because I can't just let you play with us like that. You're my slave. You're supposed to listen to me. You're supposed to do everything I tell you to do. You think you can just kind of, go back and not act like, nothing happened? Absolutely not. I'm like, if you're not going to listen to what I tell you, which is obviously, her, doing whatever she wants with him, okay, I'm going to put you in prison. And then Yusuf alayhi salam realizes that there's no way out of this. And then he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again. He doesn't, we cannot go through calamities alone, brothers and sisters. We need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, السجن قال السجن أحب إلي مما يدعونني إليه. Prison is more beloved to me. I would rather be in prison for something I didn't do than having to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. Look at this man try to protect his faith. He's willing to go this far to protect his heart, to protect his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we need to do the same thing. And we, most likely, many of us, a lot of us, perhaps all of us who's watching this, none of us are going to be tested like Yusuf alayhi salam. None of us are going to be in such a bad situation, right? While we're young and full of energy and full of desire and all that stuff. But subhanAllah, he was tested, right? And he says, even with that test, I'm not going to give in. I would rather be in prison. And many of us, what do we have to give up? To be able to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a little bit more, to be able to stop disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we have to give up is very simple. None of us have to give up their freedoms to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe we have to give up some dollars. Yeah, some of the brothers were mentioning about donating to MCMC, right? Donate to MCMC, man. Right? What is holding you back from it? Right? Maybe you want to buy a bigger house, buy a smaller house and put a donation that will benefit you in the hereafter. Right? Maybe some of us, all we need is just sleep a little bit less. And give up sleep so we can wake up for Fajr. Maybe sleep a little bit less so we can pray Tarawih. Maybe some of us need to get rid of our ego in our treatment with our family members, our wives, our husbands. I mean, the stuff that we have to give up, brothers and sisters, are so tiny to be in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yusuf gave up his life. Yusuf gave up his freedom, and he would rather go to prison than have to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or commit a sin. And subhanAllah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not leave him alone. Allah says, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنْ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to Yusuf alayhi salam, and he removed him from that calamity, and he removed him from the plotting of these women. And then Allah says again, إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Remember what we said in the beginning? The name of Allah, Al-Alim, the all-knowing. Now Allah here adds another name, As-Sami'. Allah hears. Allah hears what Yusuf was going through. Right? Allah hears what Yusuf, the pains of Yusuf alayhi salam, right? The difficulties that he's going through, right? A lot of times when we are in difficulties, we might not be able to verbalize what we feel or verbalize what we want, but Allah hears what's inside. Allah hears what's in your heart, subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you see us through narrating that story, He tells us these attributes that are so important for us to remember when we fall in a calamity. Remember three things: Allah hears, Allah knows, and Allah is wise. Wallahi, if you know these three attributes and you study them very, very well, you can get over any calamity, any difficulty in your life, whatever it is, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's going on with you. Now, you might think it's a bad thing, because remember, Yusuf alayhi salam, from the time that he left his father, all now is just a test after a test, a test after a test, a test after a test, and it doesn't get any better, right? It's just constant testing. Now look what happened to Yusuf alayhi salam. The next slide. All right, so the next slide now he's in prison. Now a couple of really interesting things happened when Yusuf alayhi salam went to prison. Number one, Yusuf alayhi salam meets these young people, these two young men, right? And he starts to get to know them. And these two young men had a dream. So they went to Yusuf and he says something so amazing. They said to him, Inna naraka min al-muhsinin. You look like a nice guy. That's essentially how I like to translate this. Obviously, you know, muhsinin is somebody who has ihsan and excellence. But essentially, if you were to put it in a conversational language, man, you look like a nice guy. You know, can you help us with our dream? Now, Yusuf alayhi salam, man, he's in prison for something he didn't do. Why would he even have to help anybody? He could just worry about himself. But no, because Prophet's mission never stops. Their mission of serving others, giving da'wah to others, never stops. So he tells them the dream and he tells them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without anything in return, right? Now, one of these guys leave prison. And when they leave prison, they were in a gathering of the king of Egypt at that time, and the king had a dream. And this young man remembered that Yusuf alayhi salam interpreted the dream. So he told the king, I know somebody in prison who can interpret that dream for you. So the king sends somebody to the prison. He takes out Yusuf, he tells the dream. The king and Yusuf interprets the dream. They take it back to the king. The king's fascinating. He says, I want this guy out. I want him to be one of my team members. Like, I want Yusuf to be with me. He does not belong to prison. Now, Yusuf alayhi salam, before he leaves prison, he tells the king, I am not going to leave until I am proven innocent from these women. Now, keep it in mind, there has been years. He's been in prison for years at that point, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives dignity and honor back to Yusuf in front of the king and in front of everybody else. He could have just lived in prison, no. But his dignity, right, is what's more important, right, than the prison. And then obviously the woman of the wife of the Aziz comes, she says that Yusuf is innocent, he gets back his honor in front of everybody else, he's proven innocent in front of everybody else, and then Yusuf alayhi salam becomes, you know, you can say the right-hand man of the king, right, and he becomes a leader in Egypt. And Allahu Akbar, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes people 180 degrees. From the well where he's about to die, now he's the second power in a country like Egypt, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Egypt becomes a place of prominence that starts to help a lot of neighboring nations. A lot of the nations around it, they started seeking help in Egypt. And one of these nations was the nation of Yaqub and his brothers. The brothers go to Egypt for some food. Essentially, to make a long story short, Yusuf alayhi salam tells them, shows himself to the brothers, and they tell him that I'm Yusuf, right? And again, I'm summarizing a really big part of the story, but essentially, because I only have a few minutes left, essentially Yusuf alayhi salam reunites back with his family. He reunites back with his younger brother Benjamin or Benjamin, as well as his family. And what is fascinating when you see Yaqub alayhi salam, when he's talking to his brother, to his sons, and he's telling him again, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَأْتِيَنِي بِهِمْ جَمِيعًا. He says, then I'm going to have beautiful patience. I've had beautiful patience for years. Remember, guys, it's been almost by now, about 30 to 40 years that Yaqub hasn't seen Yusuf, but he never lost hope in the fact that Yusuf was alive, right? And then he says, عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَأْتِيَنِي بِهِمْ جَمِيعًا. everybody will come back to me. Innahu Rabbi Alimun Hakim. Again, Allah is wise and Allah is knowledgeable. And again, you see the name of Allah, Al-Alim, Al-Hakim, all knowledgeable and all wise, comes back again into the story. And Yaqub alayhi salam comes up to Yusuf, the entire family is united. Now Yusuf is met with his brothers, and he tells the brothers, I fully forgive you. There's nothing against you today. You guys are good. Right? May Allah forgive you. For me, I don't care. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives you. I have no hard feelings against you. And Allahu Akbar, such a beautiful patience from Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Right? Nobody is ever able to forgive that easily from people that wanted to kill him in the first place. There's the character of Yusuf. You see, the character of Yusuf is paid for throughout the story, right? From the time he was a slave, from the time in the house, in the time in prison, his beautiful character saved him from a lot of the calamities. Don't ever think that your beautiful character is a disadvantage, even if everybody around you thinks so. It's never a disadvantage. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, throughout the surah, it says, Allahu yajzi al-muhsinin. Allah rewards those who are excellent. And then the last slide that we end with, inshallah ta'ala, is that Yusuf alayhi salam all of his family prostrates in front of him. And when they prostrate in front of him, he tells his father, oh, my father, this is the dream that I told you about many, many years ago. The dream of Yusuf alayhi salam comes true, comes to life in front of the fathers. And again, Yusuf tells his dad, Innahu huwa al-alim al-hakim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowledgeable and wise. The most two important names when it comes to tests and calamities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is these two names, all knowledgeable and all wise. I'm going to end the story with a beautiful dua that Yusuf alayhi salam made. This is the finale. This is the last scene of the story. Yusuf alayhi salam is done. He's from the well to become the king. He got money. He's united with his family. He got everything any of us can dream of, right? He got this world. He's a prophet. He is set. He got money, leadership, prophecy, knowledge. He got everything. Look what Yusuf alayhi salam says. I'm just going to go through the thing quickly, and everybody, inshallah, spend time to reflect on your own. This is Rabbi qad ataytani min al-mulk. My Lord, you gave me from the kingdom. You gave me from the mulk. Ya Allah, everything I have is from you, right? It's not because I'm smart. It's not because I deserve it. It's not because I'm cool. It's from you, O Allah. وَعَلَّمْتَنِي مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. And you taught me from the interpretation of ahadith. You gave me knowledge. He's attributing everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, it's not easy when somebody reaches such a high status in this world to remember to attribute things to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahi, we have small little leadership positions, small little status in this life, and we fail to attribute it to Allah. Yusuf, as a king, he still attributes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, you are the initiator of the heavens and the earth. Everything is around us, you initiated, O Allah. How can I attribute things to myself? How can I say that I deserve this or I'm worthy of this? It's all from you, Allah. Anta waliyyi fi dunya wal akhirah. You've been my supporter, my protector. You've been my sustainer. You've been my companion. Ya Allah, you've been my wali this entire time in this world, and I hope that you are my wali in the hereafter as well. Right? Yusuf alayhi salam has a beautiful relationship with Allah. He has no arrogance. He has no condescending character. He has no, ungrateful. He is extremely beautiful in everything. He says, even his dua, he's attributing everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's all about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then look at what does he ask? Up to this point, all he's saying is praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? He's not asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything. The last thing he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for is tawaffani musliman wa alhaqni bis salihin. Ya Allah, I just want to die as a believer. Allahu Akbar. That's all he wanted. Right? Because he never took his religion for granted. He never took his faith for granted. وَالْحِقْنِي بِالصَّالِحِينَ, and make me resurrected with all of my salihin, my grandparents and great-grandparents. I want to be resurrected with the good people. Because he never took his religion and his faith for granted. And there's just a quick summary of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us benefit from the story of Yusuf. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us like Yusuf alayhi salam. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to resurrect us with Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam and our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Jazakumullah khair for watching. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and make this Ramadan a beautiful Ramadan for all of us. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله صلوا في بيوتكم صلوا في بيوتكم